Hello, this is Donna with Vibrant Living International. And if we haven't met, I am happy that you are part of the Vibrant Living community. I have been going live each month with a special guest. And so today I am inviting you to get to know Keli. Keli is one of my special friends. And Keli, I am so happy that you've joined me here today to just talk and share what comes up for us as we talk about life and how to live vibrantly. Tell me about you around the time we met.
Okay. I think initially when we met, I had started a nonprofit organization, and there's just so many challenges that come with starting your own business, starting your own organization. And I was just looking for guidance. Um, because there were times when we were meeting for just like a breakfast, a coffee here or there. And at some point, my husband passed away and he had leukemia. It was a very brief illness, though, or at least between diagnosis and his death. And I had two children, and I was sort of put in this position where I still had a dream to start a nonprofit organization, but it wasn't necessarily paying the bills. It was just my passion, and I really had to make a decision of whether or not I wanted to continue, when the easy thing really would have been to just get a job. And but I decided to continue on as long as I could, make it work, because the work I do, I work with children of color. I am an engineer by training. So STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, it's a huge thing. Everybody is talking about it. But what I noticed as I was doing STEM programming, where there was so much inequity in our educational system, that some of those things had to be addressed before we could just do the traditional STEM programming. There was just foundational problems like not having science teachers, very low math proficiency, all of those things that had to be in place. And having a PhD in engineering, I knew that you can't become an engineer and you don't have a math education.
Mhm.
So anyway, when when I first really decided to maybe work with you a little bit more, at that point I had gotten pretty overwhelmed, I guess you could say. Things were starting to pick up, which was a good thing. But I had been fighting systems, and it's really hard to fight some of these systems in your own strength, like racism in education.
Yep.
How do you fix that?
Yep.
It's almost like it's such a big problem that it can be overwhelming, and you can just feel like no matter what you do, you just cannot make a dent in it. And the stress of, between raising children as a single mom at that time, financially trying to make things work, trying to get staff and things, and working with limited resources. um, One, I wasn't sure if I had enough time to even devote to myself or trying to improve myself and my situation, and I guess even mental health wise, like, I wasn't I just,
Yeah.
it just had gotten pretty bad. I remember before the pandemic, and this is, probably, before we started really talking or working together, and COVID had just started. And I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be a couple weeks off or whatever. But at that point, I had been so overwhelmed and so just kind of burned out, that I thought that I was like, I'm so glad that I have a couple weeks off, because I just can't even do this anymore. It's just too much. And I didn't, and I just also feeling like, man, you have vibrant living. Like, there should be some joy in this whole process as I'm trying to build my organization, but I was not feeling any joy. So it was, I think there's always something that you just say, man, it has to get better than this. And I think that's where I was when we really started working together. I'm so glad uh, that we met. Because like I said, first I wasn't sure I even had enough time, because I thought, can I really spend time devote time, as busy as I am, can I really devote time to improving this? Will it really make a difference? Is this going to be a waste of my energy?
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm pretty glad that I gave it a chance.
So when we met, you are uh, still a little bit recovering from the grief and the whole single parent and am I a good mom and how to do all of this and enough money.
Yeah,
Plus you have a dream of um, so many times the thing that makes us angry, we have a passion and a gift to make a difference in. But if we're really visionaries, it's too big for us.
yeah,
It's too big. And you started telling me about some of the stuff I was clueless about. I don't even have kids in the public school system. All my grandkids are homeschooled. So, but I'm
hmm,
not of color,
yeah, yeah,
and so I'm clueless about all of this and I'm getting mad,
yes.
the stuff that's going on. And I'm like, this isn't right. And you're
Well, and I
pointing
mean,
this
even
out.
even I wasn't aware until I started doing the work, because
Right.
these things typically, they do want to hide these sort of
Yes.
injustices. Um, but I found that I was quite angry. I mean, I spent so much time being angry. I was
Mm,
angry at the system, but I was angry that I wasn't being supported either,
right.
as a person of color, to be overlooked and see people give
Right.
money to white people who have less education, no background, no results, no
Yes.
experience. Like, that was hurtful as well. And yeah, there was it took a long time, because I mean, I was carrying that around for a very long time.
Yeah.
I was working on that with you as well,
Yeah.
um, because the work that I wanted to do, it being angry about it was not going to solve the problem. It
Right.
wasn't making me feel any better. Um, and honestly, I think it was impacting my health and everything. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so it was a process. I've learned to kind of be in these systems, and even though I still get upset sometimes, I try. It's not as it doesn't dominate me like it did at one time. I mean, I remember there was a time that, like, I just felt always offended and upset and mad. Like, that was my natural state of
Yeah.
being, was offended, and
Yeah.
I approach every conversation. And even now, we were just talking recently, like, I'm expecting a fight for everything I get. Um, but
Mhm.
that's one of the things that has really changed over the last 2 years. I've seen so much growth, but also part of it was me not trying to force things to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
So
you know,
we began working in the Life by Design, not by
yes.
default program, and learning how to increase your spiritual intelligence, which was probably not a word we had normally heard every day.
Yeah.
And you mentioned looking for a fight. My podcast last month was called "Are You Looking for a Fight?" Because what happens when we live life? We're expecting a fight
Yeah.
anyway. So what's changed in the time that we've worked together?
Well, first of all, I'm a Christian, and though your approach did appeal to me, because I felt like, if I did have a life coach, I did want to work with someone who was a Christian, but also feeling like, okay, I've been going to church every week, sometimes twice a week, for years and years. How is it that I never really learned this stuff?
Yeah.
How is it that, um, after so much time spent praying and doing all the things, have I allowed to I still had a mindset of poverty and a mindset of struggle. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes I think that, um, even Christians who are faithful to do all the things, sometimes there's additional um, knowledge that we could gain, and I really needed that. And even though I've grown a lot, I feel like I'm still working on things.
Mhm.
You
Me
know, I
too.
Yeah, like, I remember initially part of my problem was just feeling that it was odd or awkward to want to be prosperous or to want to have success. Like, that was selfish. there was so much that I had to work through. I had to work on forgiving people, because if you're in this work and you're fighting all the time, um,
Yeah.
you're holding on to a lot of grudges. And
Mhm.
even though I thought I was, doing pretty good, because like I would say, oh, I forgive that person.
Mhm.
But the reality was I hadn't really let it go.
Mhm.
Um, and eventually I realized that that was hurting me more than it was, it's not hurting them. I was really hurting myself. And as I learned more principles of, how to do life and let God really work in your life to fight those battles for you,
Mhm.
um, so much has changed. I would, things just started becoming easier for me when I stopped trying to make them happen, I guess, which is the weirdest thing to say, but
It
um,
is weird.
when so much, I feel like all the years up into this I was trying to do everything in my own strength. And I'm an
Exhausting.
engineer, and you're used to being able to perform and do things,
Mhm.
and you have a certain expectation. um but yeah, what God can do is just so much more than, like, doors are opening that I couldn't even imagine. The growth, the rate of the growth has been so great. The opportunities that I've had over the last couple of years, the awards that I've been winning and things, all of that is great exposure. But I can't, like, force myself to win an award or to get an opportunity to speak somewhere, in other states and stuff. Those are things that are just opportunities that have come from me being more obedient, I think. And then just listening to what you said, having the right thinking, the right mindset,
Mhm.
start visualizing what I want. Like, I always thought that that was a bunch of mumbo jumbo, sort of like, like,
Mhm.
oh, you're just gonna, I would hear stuff like that and think, I don't think so. Um,
You
but
actually
you,
told me that.
yeah, I thought it was all,
Yeah.
just some new age stuff. But what you were showing me was that this is biblical. It's not, just
Right.
some uh something that just came from somebody's,
Yes.
brain. This is biblical
So as
teaching
you've
as
learned
well.
to apply the things you learned in this program, you've gotten things have grown in ways you never anticipated and also gotten easier.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
Isn't
And then
it?
yeah, it's like I am not nearly as frustrated as I used to be.
Mhm.
There was just so, it was a daily uh, thing. I was always tired and frustrated. And even though there's challenges now, and I still have some setbacks, it's just like I am not as emotionally, I'm not as attached to those things. What happens in the economy, I'm not stressed about that. Any projections I hear or read about in the nonprofit space about giving and whatever, that those things don't bother me, because I'm really just focused on the work that I mean, I'm visualizing what I want, and not only for my nonprofit, but also for my family, for my children, for me personally, trying to, be a whole person. My whole life is not my work, um, and trying to just be a more well-rounded person too.
Right. So if someone was feeling like you were, you would consider them having a conversation with me.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes you just have to try something new. And I think I was at a place in my life that I was willing to try, because if what you've been doing is not giving you the result that you want, you start
That's a
thinking,
very
man,
engineering term.
yeah, like I'm thinking, man, I've been working on this for, all these years. STEM Greenhouse is close to 10 years now, but the growth over the last 3 years has been like 20-fold. You know what I'm saying? The amount of the
Right.
increase. And that I think that's really just because of um me not trying to do everything in my own power.
Mhm.
Um and also, like I said, um I struggle with the whole idea of, like I said, that sort of poverty mindset. that, it was selfish to want more. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but I really did struggle with that, thinking, man, is it right to, to pray for prosperity or to pray for growth in my business? But so many more children are impacted now than it was
Mhm.
when I was doing it in my own strength. When I was the only person and I
Mm.
could reach 40 kids. Now, my organization, STEM Greenhouse, we can serve 1,000 kids.
Mm.
But that's because I stopped trying to control everything, and I had to really let go, um,
Mm. Mm.
and apply those principles. And like I said, I'm still working on it. I think it's been a
Mm.
couple years since we started
Mm.
working together,
Mm.
and I'm just getting better and better, and I'm getting more and more peace,
Yeah.
more and more joy. I know what type of life I want, and I'm not as I'm not ashamed to desire that, or want that anymore. Um and it's things are just falling into place. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
start falling into
They
place.
do. They do. And it almost feels a magic. And that's what they call a miracle. When God gets involved and it seems to. So for those of you who don't know, STEM Greenhouse is making a big impact in our area here in Grand Rapids. And I have a feeling that it's going to be expanding. But for now, how can they find out more about this incredible organization and perhaps even donate?
Yeah, well, our website is a good place to start, which is stemgreenhouse.org. Um, but also I have a YouTube channel, and you can go to YouTube and look for STEM Greenhouse. You can look for my name, Keli Christopher. Um, Creating those videos has been very powerful,
No,
because it gives people sort of a glimpse into inside of what we do and
absolutely.
the spirit in which we do it. We care about children. We want to see them succeed in life, and so we know we have to invest in them, uh, in more ways than just a week of a camp or a day of coding. We really want children's lives to be impacted and changed. And it is really a blessing to be able to serve so many kids, but we want to expand, of course, because we're just living in a community that just does not treat all the children equally. And if there's schools that have science teachers, they're not going to be at the schools that have the most Black and brown children. The teachers are just choosing to work other places. And part of that is, there's financial reasons, but there's just a lot of systems in place that sort of prevent children from getting the education they deserve. And we all will suffer if we don't
Yes, we will.
ensure that all kids have a good education.
Absolutely.
But in doing this work, which I mean, I love doing it. And I think a lot of people probably are like me. You find something that you love to do, and at the same time, the it can be overwhelming. And I can imagine, like, people in ministry or just people in any career, as much as you love it, the workload can be very heavy.
Yes, it can.
And um the it's important to have those skills to help you, and then to just continuously work in that. So for example, the things I'm doing now, they're weekly, they're monthly. Like, I need that to maintain. Like, if I stopped, it would, like, all the stuff, sort of like I started doing yoga. I don't know
Mhm.
if you noticed this, or I don't know if I ever told you this, but I had been having back pain like for years. I don't even remember a time when I didn't wake up and my back wasn't hurting or something. But about a month ago, my back stopped hurting. And part of it, I think, was some exercises I was doing, but I think part of it was also the mind body connection, the
Absolutely.
stress that I was under
Yep.
for so many years.
Yep.
Just it just manifested itself in stress,
Yep.
tension and stress in my back. And it was just sort of funny. I thought, goodness, like, I can wake up every day and not have back pain. Like, I just thought that I was just always gonna wake up hurting. But I
Mm.
think there's a lot of things that we can achieve. Like in the case of that back pain, I hadn't even been praying about that. Like, I just had to assume that I was just always gonna be my back was always gonna hurt. Because I was getting older, and I think a lot of people do that too. Oh, I'm getting older. I just have to accept certain illnesses and pain.
That's not true, by the way, but keep going.
Yes, exactly. But I'm so glad, like, I didn't even, I wasn't even focused on that. And I still am glad that God was just like, all of this
Yeah.
is starting to make, like, I feel different too. That's
Yep.
just the point I was making. Not only like, oh, I'm less stressed, but, to see those things go away. And especially after my husband died, I wasn't sleeping well. Like, I haven't really slept well since he died. And, it's been 5 years, and you could imagine not sleeping well for 5 years. And finally, now you can sleep. And now, I'm really glad. But at the same time, if I had, 2 years ago when we met, if I had expected my back to stop hurting and, to get great sleep and, things didn't happen after one meeting, you know,
Right. Right.
it was years in the making. And I think it'll be definitely years in practicing
Well,
to
it's a way of
maintain.
life. Once you learn it, it's a way of living, and it just keeps getting better and better
Yeah.
and better. And so that's when I tell people, if you want to know how to do it the easy way, and people think that I'm making it up.
Uh-huh.
But it's when we can learn how to do it God's way, and we really learn how to do it easy way, it affects every part of our life because our body tells a story. And
Mhm.
it is a reflection of what our emotions are doing, whether we're dealing with them or not. And then the whole not sleeping and self-care, which we've talked about, that you're growing in as well. And so you really can do it the easy way. So in conclusion, for today's conversation, I want you to go visit stemgreenhouse.org and check out the incredible work that this woman God has put on her heart, and she is spearheaded, and she is giving God all the glory. She's listening, she's doing what he's saying, and she is making an impact. Can you imagine just 1,000 children's life being changed? I'm about to cry. The amount of
I can't
impact
believe
in
it.
the generations to come is just phenomenal. So go check out her website. If you at all can contribute to what she is doing, please do so. Spread the word so that this can grow and that all
Mhm.
children can
Yeah.
learn what they need to learn, to believe in themselves, that things are possible and it can be the easy way. That is
Yes.
what my passion is to help you make a difference, make an impact, leave a legacy, and create wealth to do it. Because money is
Yep.
necessary when it's in its proper place to do the things that God has called us to do. So
Yes.
thank you for being part of the Vibrant Living community. Keli, thank you for sharing your story so openly and honestly. And I'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks.